You know, most players struggle to hit the ball consistently solid because they don't move their hips forward enough during the downswing. I see this all the time with players I coach. And the reality is there's two ways to move your hips more forward. We can learn how to fall into our lead side, or we can learn how to push off our trail side. I'm going to show you in today's video what I did with a recent student of mine, how you can do that as well. So you can push your hips forward like all the best ball strikers do and hit the ball much more solid. Let's dive right in. All right, guys, so in terms of the downswing and leading with the hips and getting the hips more forward towards the target, I see a one-to-one correlation with players that I work with and how far forward their hips are with rotation towards the target and how well they strike the ball. And kind of in simple terms, the players, and we'll show you this on the screen here, like Grant Waite and Adam Scott and some other players, the players who push their hips forward the most would be the best players in the world, right? Scratch level players, guys on tour, shoot under par. The players who have the hips stay more back throughout the swing struggle with contact, struggle with consistency, and are the highest handicappers. So if we put some swings on the screen, I want you to notice throughout this video, we're going to draw some lines up the legs. So kind of angled in on the right and left leg. And I want you to notice throughout the swing how much the lead side breaks through the wall with the hips pushing forward. And I also want you to notice, which is kind of gets missed, how much the right hip and right leg work off that line during the downswing. Now, there's two key ways to do that, right? One is falling into the lead side, which we'll talk through. One is pushing off the trail side. And there's some details that matter as to how you do it and when you do it. So in terms of the lead side, right, if we pull up Adam Scott or Grant Waite, we'll draw those lines up my hips and their hips as well. What we're going to notice is at the setup, you know, they're inside those lines. The hips are pretty much right in the middle of their feet. During the backswing, you'll typically see a good ball striker stay pretty much where they started in terms of positioning of the hips. Meaning their hips won't work forward of that line on the way back towards the target, and they won't really work away from that line at all either. You're going to essentially, and you'll see with Adam Scott there, stay right in the middle of those lines. But now from there, they don't stay in the middle, right, of those lines all the way through the hit. What they do is they're shifting forward with their hips as they're turning, right? So their hips, it's not like they're just shifting forward with no turn, where their belt buckle stays pointed at the golf ball. That's not what they do. And they're not just turning with no shift with their belt buckle at the target but the hips back. They're not doing that either. They're combining those motions throughout the downswing the entire time, right? So as a simple point here from the top of your backswing, and I just put a little club on the ground in reference with the golf ball in the middle of my feet so you could see, here's where my belt buckle is, right at setup, right over that. During the backswing, my hips are going to stay pretty centered, but obviously they're going to turn away from the target. So my belt buckle is pointed away. As I shift, my belt buckle is going to consistently be turning towards the target, right? So it's going to turn back towards the ball and towards the target. It's rotating the whole time as it's shifting. So I think belt buckle, in terms of where it points, to the ball and to the target. And from this forward shift perspective, I'm trying to get my belt buckle over my ankle and then in front of my foot, which we'll talk through. So they're turning and shifting the whole time. So if I hit one here, just as a simple example, I'm trying to get my belt buckle to get to my left ankle in terms of this way, which I'll show you, more details here. And I'm also trying to get it pointed towards the target. So let's just do a simple one like that. Belt buckle to the left ankle and pointed towards the target. So if I just hit a normal solid swing, this would be my finish position. And this is where you'd see most all good ball strikers get to. Weight all the way forward on the left foot, right foot's just there for support. Belt buckle is closer to the target than my shirt buttons, and my body's fully turned, right? Now, the question, I think once we get beyond the point of, okay, Eric, like I get that, that's cool, hips gotta go forward. How do I actually do that? And the first thing that I like to teach, and this is what I taught a recent student of mine that helped him a lot, was falling into the lead side. So I want you to think about your setup like you've got your feet on like a weight scale, like you just kind of go on a scale to weigh yourself. And if I were to push down into that scale with either foot, you would imagine the weight would spike, right? We'll just use weight in this example. So what's happening from the top of the backswing is that I would want you to imagine that you would be pushing into that weight scale, and that would make that weight, spike, right? So that weight measure would spike on the left. But specifically what I want you to think about to do that is getting the left knee or your lead knee to get forward of your ankle. So I go to the top. I want you to feel this with me. Get your left knee, and we'll show Grant Waite doing this. You can see his knee at the top, and then just in the initial part of the downswing, pushing into the foot, spiking the scale, and getting the knee outside the ankle. Notice as I'm doing that, where's my belt buckle going? Forward towards my lead ankle, right? And so what I want you to feel for a rehearsal here is go about halfway back, feel the weight scale underneath the foot, and feel the knee outside the ankle. So I'm feeling like I'm going down and forward. Now this is less about the down motion and more about the forward towards the target, forward towards the target. So I like to do 2 rehearsals, weight into the foot, knee forward to the ankle for 1, weight into the foot, knee forward to the ankle for 2, and I'm gonna hit feeling the same thing. And from a timing perspective, I'm doing this falling into the lead side, basically right away at the start of the downswing. Weight into the left foot, knee outside the ankle. And if I do that, I'm gonna get my weight forward. I'm gonna have my knee push outside of the ankle. It's just like a simple technical cue that you can use to actually do this. Now that's a really nice lead side feel, right? And so timing wise, I'm gonna feel like I'm falling into my lead side, and then from there, what I'm really doing after this initial move is taking my belt buckle, the center of my hips, and I'm pushing them up and forward towards the target. So when I get done, my hips shouldn't be in the middle of my feet. They shouldn't be back. You see the hips, right, are the most forward towards the target, and they're fully 90 degrees turned. The hips going forward, right, obviously helps us get our low point forward. See the divot past the ball, so solid contact. Helps swing the club from inside, right, which is good. Helps create power, that's good. Helps shallow out the angle of attack, right, that's good. All good things with the hips forward. So halfway back, pressure into the lead foot, knee in front of the ankle. Pressure into the lead foot, knee in front of the ankle. And one more. Now again, from here, as I would be doing this in a fluid motion, I'd feel that and just let my arms swing through and react. But what's actually happening after this early motion, is the hips are gonna push up and forward over the ankle, right? You want the belt buckle to point to the target, belt buckle over the ankle. So press into the lead foot, left knee outside the ankle. And there's another really solid strike with my hips pushed all the way forward. So that's a place that I would start with a lot of students. Like if you're struggling with hanging back too much or not leading with the hips or not getting the hips forward enough, that's a nice place to start, okay? Now, as I'm doing that, before we talk about the trail side, I do want this club in here for reference, and we can show the models. As I'm doing my hips here in the beginning, I don't mind allowing my upper body to kind of feel like it's going with it, just to create some momentum. But the reality is when I'm actually swinging, any upper body that's going with that is happening really early in the downswing. And from there through, what's really happening is my hips are gonna keep pushing forward, but my head is gonna stay back over the ball line. And that part's really important. So I'm not going everything forward the whole way, right? A little bit of everything early is okay, as I'm pushing into the foot and getting the knee over the ankle. But from there, you'll see really good ball strikers there. Continue pushing the hips forward. The head will stay back. We'll show Grant Waite. Head will stay back over the ball, at least until the arms are parallel to the ground. The reason it's important to keep the head back is because if your head goes with it, notice from down the line here, let's show both angles. As my head goes forward, the club's always gonna come out over the top and be too steep, which means you're either gonna hit some really low pulls or you're gonna do something to fix that, like early extension. So we have to keep the head back as the hips are going forward to help swing the club from inside and shallow the angle of attack. So same things here, push into the left foot. The knee is gonna go forward of the ankle. Head stays back over the ball line. So it's just a really easy cue for you to start with. And notice every time you get done, you want to be on that left foot. The ankle can roll a little fine, but my right foot's just there for support. Belt buckle closer to the target than my shirt buttons. Now, if you don't like the lead side feels, right, in terms of falling into the lead side, you can have some trail side feels. And the visual that I like for your trail side feels, you know, and you could be feeling both of these throughout the whole way down. Technically speaking, what I wouldn't mind you feeling is a little bit of the falling into the lead side early first, and then more of the pushing off the trail side, which we're going to talk about. So if I had to kind of had a sequence, it'd be more left first, then push off right. That can be a little bit much to do right in the short time of a downswing. So you can also think about this as the same time. So we're going to pull up some visuals, and you're going to notice the line up the left leg and right leg. Obviously, we look at and can see that lead side breaking through that wall as the pressure is working forward and I'm rotating. But often unnoticed is, let's draw that line up the right leg and show the model. Look how much space that right hip is getting from compared to where it started, like how far forward it's going. And that's from the shifting forward and that's from turning forward, the combination of both of those. So what I like to think about it, if you had like a wall or an object here, you're trying to get your right hip as far away from that back object as possible, all the way forward, like right away to start your downswing. So as I'm falling into my lead side, notice my leg is obviously getting farther, my hip's getting farther from that. But as I work through and push my hips up, I'm straightening my left leg and my right leg. I like to feel like my right leg I'm straightening as I'm pushing my belt buckle towards the target, almost pushing my foot this way, and I'm extending my right leg on like an angle. So here's where I start. I'm trying to get that angle working away from that line. That's my feel, right? Pushing off. It's almost like you had like a pitcher's mound, pushing off the rubber. So I have fallen left. If that gets the job done, totally cool. But in with that, I'm pushing off the right, and notice how far forward that gets my hips as they're turned, right? So if you like the right side feels, you can keep it simple. Object here, get your right side away from it. I kind of like to push off that foot, angle that leg forward. Notice when you do that, feel what that feels like. My head stays over the ball, but as I'm doing that, I'm pushing forward. My hips are forward and turned, and turned. Again, that's better contact, swing from inside, more power, etc. So pushing off the right leg as the head stays back. And this is a piece too, for those of you who have the early extension knee in towards the ball, that would help that move a lot. So listen, the hips have to go forward, non-negotiable, right? No matter your swing type, no matter who you are, no matter where you're coming from, no matter how old you are, if you want to hit the ball solid, you've got to move the hips several inches, 3, 4, 5, 6 forward like the best players do. You can do that one of two ways. Fall into the lead side, pressure under the scale with the knee outside the ankle is how I'd start, making sure you see that on video. Or you can push off the right side. I would video yourself with the lines up the hips and legs and be breaking through that left side, pushing off that right side while keeping the head centered. It's going to really help your ball striking. If you ever want more guidance, go over to cogornogolf.com. We'd love to help you there. We are on a road to try and get to 400,000 subscribers this year. If you could click that subscribe button down below, that'd go a long way. If you like this video on how to get your hips forward, I'm going to link another video that you might like, different kind of feels and drills to get your hips forward as well. Thank you guys for watching.